hour backs off during the 8 o'clock hour, and even more so headed towards lunch, and those odds might even need to be lower than that as we approach the lunch hour. And then it should be rain free the rest of the afternoon into the evening. Here is the key to the day, though. We have this muggy meter that's up here in the low end of the steamy range, so it's humid. The sky is just dripping a couple of drops with this light rain. This will get better. Look at how it goes into the afternoon, and then look where the muggy meter ends up by this evening, down in the pleasant range. That is phenomenal for this time of year. To get anything below 60 for a dew point in late June, early July is a big win, so that's going to feel great this evening. As we go through the course of the day, a first alert to the showers that are, again, out there less and less beyond 8 o'clock towards noon. You can see just a couple little specks there, and then that's why we kept the chance through about 1 o'clock. Notice mid-afternoon they're all east. There's our chance to warm up as the clouds move out. We'll climb into the mid-80s, and it looks like a really, really good day. We're cooler than average, lower humidity than we usually get this time of year, and by 7 o'clock, how about low humidity in 82? That is a great June evening across the area. Find a way to enjoy it, folks. By 10 o'clock, we're down near 70, and then overnight tonight, we'll cool off into the 60s. Might even have a couple of 50s on the map to start off tomorrow morning briefly, and then we'll warm up from there. And even that 88 on Tuesday, pretty low dew points with that too. We don't really start to see that humidity go up until we get into Wednesday with a high of 91 there. Small chance of a storm late afternoon into the evening on Wednesday. But this little 3-day stretch here is some really prime time stuff for this time of year. You don't get the humidity out of the air, and it doesn't feel like you're wearing a wet sweater when you're outside all the time. So.
We better enjoy this. All right, you know all eyes are on the 4th of July, so what's that forecast looking like?
I tell you what, of all the storm chances we have, unfortunately, the best odds right now are on the 4th. So it's going to be hot, nothing crazy there. It's going to be humid. Again, that's July. Windy as well. South winds will gust to 30, 35 miles per hour on Friday, on 4th of July. And then that funnels the energy in we need for some thunderstorms. And I think we're going to have the ingredients in place to see some scattered thunderstorms. We're not talking an all-evening washout, but there's going to be some on the map. And you have to plan for some weather impacts, I think, for any outdoor events. If you got your typical fireworks displays that you go to every year, those could be impacted. I'm not saying everyone gets rain, but it looks like maybe 1 or 2 of those could be impacted, and to the point where they may delay it a little bit depending on where the thunderstorms move. It is going to be muggier this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Look where the dew points get back up here in that steamy range. So enjoy that little lull that we have here early this week. We'll climb up to 93 Thursday, 94 on Friday, a little better by Saturday and Sunday over your 3-day weekend, but the overnight lows, they're in the 70s, so still pretty humid no matter what the temperature. Unfortunately, you got to watch for those thunderstorms on Friday, late afternoon and evening. I think the bigger displays, the more organized stuff. Everybody in your neighborhood is probably still going to find a time to launch some fireworks, but it's the organized displays you got to watch.
Especially your neighborhood too, right?
It tends to get a little loud.
All right, we won't go into that.
No.
But in the meantime, we'll get a check in on traffic with Jarrett as those raindrops start to fall. That could be impacting drivers.
You know, it's something we always watch anytime we start getting this right at the peak of the commute. It's not great timing that we're seeing this move in. So let me tell you where I'm seeing some slowdowns. And we're going to start out on I-80. This is as you're heading westbound, roughly 84th to 72nd. You look in the distance, you can see that there's a fair amount of traffic there in just a small part of the interstate there. Things checking up, and no necessarily specific reason that's happening. We do have some of those showers moving in. You can see that it's moving along in okay shape through here. 72nd northbound showing some delays that are a little bit higher than they usually are. I'll keep an eye on that, but we do have some of those showers that Rusty mentioned starting to push their way in, so that could be a factor in what has been causing our occasional delays. As you're going from the northbound JFK to I-80, that ramp slowing down, that makes sense. So a lot of times we watch these ramps, interchanges, curves for issues when we start getting some rain moving through. Now, this isn't very heavy stuff, but it doesn't take a whole lot to start causing issues when you're starting to add all these vehicles to the road. So there's the radar overlaid on our traffic, and you can see that we're starting to push some of this in, particularly in Sarpy County is where we have a little bit more of that, and that kind of lines up with some of our delays showing up there on I-80 in either direction through that construction zone. right around Giles or so. So keep an eye on that. You can see elsewhere we've got just some pockets where it's slowing down a little bit as you're making your way along Maple, some parts of Dodge at this point. Not big problems that we're seeing just yet, but we'll watch how that rain impacts things as it continues to move in. We've also got some fog that's pretty close to the airport where we're seeing more of that, and into parts of into Pottawatomie County or Crescent, we've had some of that showing up in that area. So it's not real thick, but there are some pockets that are a little thicker than others, and that's the area where you could be seeing some of that become an issue for us as we're heading out the door this morning. So keep an eye on things as the rain continues to push in, but I tell you, this could be one of those drives where you're just annoyed because you're playing with the windshield wipers. You just can't find that correct one.
I'm so glad you said that because that happens to me so often. I'm like, oh, I can't do it.
Yeah, well, so that may be how your day starts.
All right. All right, Jared, thank you. News now, a brand new update this morning to a story we were tracking last night at 10. It appears a power outage in southwest Omaha has now been resolved. OPPD says workers patrolled the affected circuit and found no obvious damage, but later they discovered a cable theft in the area. At one point, more than 2,000 customers were in the dark. Well, Nebraska Congressman Don Bacon is expected to announce that he will not be seeking re-election.
He scheduled a news conference for 10 a.m. The former Air Force general was re-elected in November to a fifth term in Congress. National political reports have said he is expected to retire at the end of the term, which would be in about a year and a half. We will carry the news conference live on firstalert6.com. New this morning, a man was sent to the hospital after a cutting in the metro. Officers responding to the family fair near 24th and Oak just after 8 o'clock last night. They found a man who had been stabbed. His injuries are not life-threatening. No word about any arrests. Still ahead, it was quite the weekend for Omaha's Archbishop.
For sure, he tells us about what it was like meeting the first ever U.S.-born Pope coming up after this. Welcome back, everybody. Sure hope your Monday morning is getting off to a great start. We're starting to see some rain falling here in the metro. That's why Senior Chief Meteorologist Rusty Lord is here. He's watching it for us, watching that radar, letting us know where the rain is now and what we can expect.
Pretty much the whole metro is getting some rain. It's just very, very light right now. So it's not going to add up to much, just more of a nuisance here right during the heart of the morning drive. But that's when we have it here. Some very light rain across parts of, or almost all the metro area. with a little heavier to the south and a pretty sharp north edge to this. Blair, maybe a couple of sprinkles to Kama, not getting anything. There's some steady rain, Lincoln, Beatrice. There's some thunder and lightning in it down here near the Kansas border. Just catching the north edge of this larger storm complex that's been barreling across Kansas this morning and weakening some too. Strongest storms are just south of the Nebraska-Kansas border into northern Kansas. So we got a little light rain there at 8 o'clock this morning, still possible by 10, 11, 12, there's not too much. I'm going to keep a small chance in through about noon, maybe 1 p.m. Otherwise, the rest of the afternoon into the evening will be nice and quiet and dry, and this is the key to the day. We're up here in the steamy range of those dew points, but then down, down, down goes the humidity all the way through the afternoon. By the evening, we're down in the pleasant range, and I'm emphasizing this just because we do not get many days like this in the summer months, and this is tomorrow's muggy meter. Look at this. Hanging out in the pleasant range almost all day. You could probably open the windows up to start the day tomorrow and let some of the cooler air around. UV index, though, when the sun does come out today, will be on the high side, up there a 9 on the scale. So those 6 hours in the middle of the day, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., that's the time to watch. Make sure you got the sunscreen. Pool day forecast looking really good once the clouds clear out this afternoon. And I think as we head towards Tuesday afternoon as well, a little bit warmer tomorrow with sun shining up to about 87, 88 for that high, but a pretty good day all the way around. And after this little lull, this little dip in the muggy meter, it does get humid again this upcoming weekend for the 4th of July. That lines up, nothing wild there. 91 Wednesday, 93 on Thursday. Just a gradual warming trend each and every day leading up to the storm chance on Friday, unfortunately. Yeah, on the 4th of July is the best opportunity for some thunderstorms. It looks really messy on models now. That just tells me that there's moisture to work with. Possibility of some late afternoon showers and storms. It won't cover the entire area, I don't think, but there's 10 o'clock. That's that key time for a lot of fireworks displays, so we'll be watching that closely, but unfortunately, best chance of storms lining up right on the 4th of July.
All right, we know the party doesn't stop on the 4th, too. And for a 3-day weekend for a lot of people, it's going to go Saturday into Sunday, too. So how's that forecast looking?
I tell you what, not all that bad. It will cool down a little bit. We'll be closer to 90. Still going to be humid. Small chance of some storms lingering for Saturday morning, left over from the Friday night stuff. And then maybe a few more in the afternoon on Saturday. But overall, the better odds still lying there on Friday with near 90 for the high, both Saturday and Sunday, and upper 80s to near 90, it looks like, early on next week. So that's what we're looking at long range. Unfortunately, like I said, the best odds are lining up right on the 4th of July. So keep that in mind for anything you got going outdoors. If everything leading up to that looks pretty dry and pretty comfortable.
All right. Ralston sure did it right, moving their 4th of July celebrations to the 3rd.
Right now, that looks like a smart move on many levels, weather-wise being a big one.
All right, all right. Turning to traffic now, you're watching the roads for us, you're watching the rain and that fog.
Yeah, and seeing how things are getting impacted as a result of that. So let's look throughout the area and kind of give you an idea of where you may run into some of those bigger impacts. That bottom left you're looking at, that's I-80 right around 72nd. They've really zoomed in on that big neon orange sign telling you about the construction that we've been giving you the first alert to for the last month or so. But that is still in place. You still got to watch the right lane being closed as you're heading westbound into that area. But that's also where we've had a few of those showers that have made their way through. So watch for that in the early going. This is the area where the fog was the thickest. You can see it's improved some right near Eppley. So looking a little bit better as we're getting up and running. Still watch that area around Crescent. I still think we could be looking at some slowdowns right around there. This is a big deal for the rest of the week, and even this morning I just had a coworker message me and say that eastbound Farnham in the stretch between 46th and Saddle Creek is already closed, so you cannot use that this morning. Westbound you can use as you're going through there, but not after 9 a.m. That's scheduled to close at that point. And the road will be fully closed there on Farnham between 46th and Saddle Creek for the next 3 weeks with some work happening in that area. So you'll need to steer your way to another route and perhaps use Dodge, maybe use Leavenworth to try to avoid that here with that starting up one. First alert you to that. We've got some delays as you're entering the construction zone both sides on I-80. Otherwise, just watching how that rain ends up impacting things. Haven't had any notification of any issues that have popped up just yet, aside from, having to play with the windshield wipers with some of those showers starting to push their way in. Pretty light stuff, as Rusty mentioned, but again, you'll need to watch for that, especially if you're in the Sarpy County area. When I zoom out a little bit more, you're going to notice that you're seeing that more so in Lincoln, and I actually have a crash on I-80 in Lincoln right now, so you will need to keep that in mind if you're going to be heading toward Lincoln this morning, that you're going to be encountering more of that rain. That's also the case as you head south on I-29. You're running into more of that widespread area of rain in that direction.
All right, Jared, thank you. An update to a First Alert 6 investigation. A teen murder suspect will not be tried as an adult.
That's right. A Douglas County District Court judge believes the 16-year-old shot and killed a man to protect his mom. Charles Primes died near 27th and Harrison. He was 34 days removed from jail for domestic assault at the time. Well, the teen told detectives he had witnessed Primes be violent with his mother. The judge also pointed to surveillance video backing up the teen's claims that he was trying to defuse the situation.
Omaha's new Archbishop received a special blessing from the first American Pope over the weekend. This is called a pallium. It's a vestment the Pope presents to archbishops, normally on the feast of St. Peter and Paul. Michael McGovern was one of the 35 new archbishops to get the blessing during Mass at St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. He spoke to us about the experience.
Each of the archbishops had a moment to greet Pope Leo. And I did mention to him, I said, I'm also a Chicago native. And he just simply asked, I mentioned I was from Omaha. He asked, where were you before? I told him I was in Belleville. That was the diocese where I was the shepherd before. And he just, said, God bless you.
Including McGovern, 8 of the archbishops receiving the blessing were from the USA. Fireworks sales in Omaha officially underway now, but many dogs could be in distress when that fanfare begins.
Yeah, the Nebraska Humane Society says fireworks can be quite shocking for our dogs because they have much better hearing than we do. 1HS says there are tools that dog owners can use to ease the stress and tension of 4th of July fireworks celebrations. The key is to prepare early and not wait for the explosions to begin.
If you think your pet might need some anxiety medication, talk to your vet now. Don't wait until the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th of July. That's going to be hard to get in and get that medication.
Have some more advice. Make sure your microchips are up to date and that your dog is wearing a collar with their tags on it in case they get spooked and run away. How's your puppy handling it?
Luckily,
so far?
He does very well.
Oh, good.
He does not make a peep, which is great. So some dogs mind it, some don't.
All right. Well, up next, this woman is officially ready for her retirement.
Find out how she's left all her worries ashore when we come back.
See what we're doing there?
Retirees have another option for how to spend their golden years. I've heard of this before, too.
I have too.
Yeah.
One 77-year-old woman moved onto a new residential ship traveling around the world. So these cabins start at $129,000. It's definitely pricey, but listen to the perks. Food, drinks, medical visits,
Good food.
all free. There's also entertainment, room service, and weekly housekeeping. So she's seeing the world and enjoying all those freebies. And I mean, you're 77.
You know, maybe if you don't have any kids or you don't have a lot of responsibilities or pets and you want to go out, and I think that could be a really great option.
Great social for seniors
Yep.
too.
Right.
I'm not against that.
Yeah.
I'm not against it at all. All right, moving on. Have you heard the term fridge cigarette? I hadn't, maybe you had. It's a new way of talking about having a Diet Coke while you're on your work break.
All right, so you can think of it as a traditional smoke break, maybe in older times, but instead now with soda. Well, the term is growing in popularity, especially on social media. One of the first posts to use the term on TikTok now has nearly 4 million views. I've heard of this before. Of this, just like having a quick Diet Coke just to kind of get through the day. And you know what? Moderation is key. Would you guys have anything? I know some of our coworkers, I always see a soda on their desk every single day. Do you guys have anything like that?
How do they get it to where they get like I'm just going to step out for a few minutes and have this Diet Coke?
Just enjoy. Just sit and enjoy the quiet with your Diet
I'm not against it. I just don't know how to convince
Oh,
management to do that.
I mean, it would be a coffee for me, but you know, to each
Coffee
their
break?
own.
Yeah.
Just an extra little jolt there.
All right.
Okay. All right. Enjoy your fridge cigarette if that's your jam. All right.
Hopefully they're not doing the 2-liter bottles on the break like they showed in the video.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We're going to get ready for our update in the Today Show. You can watch it here on streaming or over the air.
Have a great start to your Monday.
Live from WOWT, First Alert 6 starts now.
Good Monday morning, everybody. It is 7:26. I'm Cerise Cole.
I'm Erin Harley. Let's get a traffic update this morning. Jarrett Lansford.
And we are seeing a combination of some of the rain that's falling and the construction on I-80 causing some slowdowns here as you're going eastbound. Foreground looks good, but you can see how things checking up as you get into the distance and get closer to that work happening right near Giles. So there's what things look like when you're looking at the map. You're ready for it to be slow in that area. With some of those showers, you want to make sure those headlights are on for the morning drive as well. I also want to first alert you to this. Partially already in effect. Eastbound Farnham closed between 46th and Saddle Creek. Westbound closes at 9 a.m. and this will be in place fully closed for the next 3 weeks. So you're going to need to work your way around that for many of our morning commutes coming up. Most roads moving along pretty well in spite of some of that rain that's out there, Rusty.
Yeah, got to keep an eye on these showers, and now we're starting to see a few thunderstorms. Look at this little development back here south of Columbus. That is, I think, the key to just how quickly any storms would move out. This little batch of showers doesn't have much to it, but look right back here, a little bit of new development back west of Seward, and that's what could still be possible here as we go through the course of the morning and into the early afternoon. So we have steady rain over top the metro at the moment. Storm chances still going to keep those through about 1 o'clock, and that little development back to the west, that is why. And into the late afternoon and evening, very comfortable conditions settle in. Look at the muggy meter just taking a nosedive for the evening. Beautiful evening, low humidity and comfortable temperatures as we only climb to about 85 degrees for the high today. And by the time the dew points drop off, that will be a very comfortable 85. Aaron?
Omaha police are investigating a cutting that left one person hurt. Police are investigating a cutting that left a person hurt. Officers were called to the family affair near 24th and Oak just after 8 o'clock last night. OPD tells us they found a 47-year-old man who was taken to the hospital with none life-threatening injuries.
It is 7:28. We are back with another update for you in about 25 minutes. We'll see you then.